Salvio's 2016 Jumpstart screening. I'm Hany, and I'm the director of Salvio, and thanks to everyone for walking through that wall of heat to get here. The Jumpstart program is Salvio's oldest granting program. If you don't know who we are, Salvio's back there, and we serve media artists across the region in Eastern Ontario and West Quebec. So we rent equipment, and we do training, and we do screenings, and also do, the important thing we do is mentor and support artists to make work, to make video work. So Salvio's 35 years old this year.
Wow.
And Jumpstart is, as far as we can figure out, 30 years old, which is amazing. So over the years, more than 100 artists have gotten their start through the program, me included. And as part of Salvio's 35th anniversary in November 11th, we will be doing a special gala retrospective of Jumpstart over the years, and it's being curated by longtime member Michelle Wassey. And I hope you can join us for that. It'll be very interesting to see what the archives reveals. This time last year, we announced our Jumpstart mentorship program winners, and tonight you'll see the 4 finished videos, and 2 or 3 actually. Two of the filmmakers or filmmaking teams are here tonight, Alexandra Noble and the team of Gillian Kirkland and Andrew Letourneau. So there'll be a Q&A following the screening, so please stick around, and Indie Fest is here to stream the Q&A live. Didn't mention that. Sorry. Across the world. Phone your grandmothers now. So an important part of Jumpstart is the Jumpstart process is the role played by the mentors, and I'd like to thank the 4 mentors who participated this year: Ed Kusarak, Kristen McNall, Isabel, who I do not see. Okay, Isabel will be coming in through the heat. And Cody Campanelli, who I haven't seen tonight either. So anyway, they'll show up. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce the winners of this year's cohort of Jumpstart, the 2016-17 Jumpstart Mentorship Program. And there's 6 of them: Natasha Doyon, Ashley Miller, Jennifer Mulligan, Guillaume Saint-Don, and Marco Joubert, their team, Heidi Vandenbroek, and Alexandra Wells. So that's fantastic. There's funders to thank. We'd be nothing without the support of the Canadian Council for the Arts, the City of Ottawa, and the Ontario Arts Council. And so there will be a Q&A following the screening, but we have a little perk tonight. We have, from our friends at the Ottawa International Animation Festival, we'll be doing 2 rounds of skill testing questions. So you can so if you answer correctly, you will get 2 tickets, a pair of tickets, to see a free pass to one show, to one screening of the Ottawa International Animation Festival, which takes place September 21st to 25th. So you can take your sweetheart and go to an animated film. So here's my 4 skill testing questions. And board and staff, keep your mouths shut. Sorry. Name a Salvio board member. Yes.
Just Paul. Great.
Just Paul. Just Paul. You are.
How did you know that?
Jim Paul. He's standing back there. Thank you. I just heard the call. Name one of the cameras in our inventory.
Well, that's nice.
Very good, Meredith Snyder. Okay, this one's going to be harder. What is the name of the curator for our Jumpstart screening in November? I said it earlier.
Christopher somebody.
That's
It's Christopher.
No.
okay. Then the other one is, did you get it?
No. He said Christopher Rhodes.
No, it's not Christopher Rose.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, it's Michelle Wozni, nobody
Oh,
wins.
yeah.
Okay.
I remember that now.
What is the name of Saw Video's administrative coordinator? Our administrator.
Is that
Gillian.
I'm not allowed.
No, she's not allowed.
Is that the administration?
No, she's communications.
Is it,
Yes. Sorry, Melissa. This is Isabel Garcia, one of the leaders. Okay, so last one for 2 tickets to the Animation Festival. Name a country that starts with an A but doesn't end with an A. Oh, very good.
But I guess I'm probably going to be away.
Oh, he would like to give Okay,
Yeah,
you can nominate, you can give this to someone. Okay, all right, okay.
So buy a beer after the show.
Okay.
All of you.
Thank you very much and enjoy the screening.
All right, let's welcome to the stage a few of the filmmakers who are here tonight. Alexandra Noble, who directed, produced Taken, and some of the collaborative efforts of Gillian Kirkland and Andrew Letourneau. There will be plenty of time for the audience to ask questions, but I thought I'd just get the ball rolling. And I was going to start with you two since it's freshest in our mind for a snowy adventure. And I know from the program that you both have a background in improvised music, which I imagine is something very important to your creative process. And I was wondering, going into shooting this film, how important it was for you to maintain a kind of certain level of unpredictability about where the film was going, whether you came in with a sort of predetermined structure or if it was really left open in terms of where the story was going to go as you were making it.
We had somewhat of a structure to it, of course, but overall, I think a little bit of a boxed-in structure. From there, we kind of went with it, depending on the weather, depending on how we felt, and where we're going with it.
Yeah, we had for us, the purpose of this project was to learn about making a film, so we deliberately gave ourselves a challenge with difficult weather conditions, and then from there it was kind of like you can compare with a lot of art projects that kind of took shape over time and it imposed its own rules as it was going on.
Yeah. And the music, did you compose the music yourselves? And did that sort of happen as it was, maybe you could talk about that process, whether you were editing and writing the music at the same time or it came after the edit?
Gillian did most of it, but
Actually, I anticipated having a lot more time for the music than I ended up having, so that was a bit of a surprise, because originally I had imagined we'll make this little movie and I'll have all this time to do music, and that was not the case at all, because the movie took a long time, and then the editing took a long time, and then by the time we got to the music, it was deadline. So by that point, the film had kind of already taken shape, and then we were just...
Sorry.
Yeah, so the music came at the end, contrary to what's because the film already taken shape at that point, and then it was just kind of to accentuate that.
Last question for you though is there's this great line in your bio about dethroning the cinematic hierarchy. And whenever there's a collaborative pair, I always like asking just what that was like, what the challenges were in creating that horizontal collaboration.
So I want to take this. Yes, we had a great time. A great time, dedicating each person's roles. Not really, but we had challenges with it. And but overall, I think that we actually learned quite a bit from it and learned about ourselves as well. Yeah, we both sort of still gave ourselves our niches. So I did a lot of the camera work, a lot of the technical background, and she did want to do all of it in writing music. So it was okay.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging doing that. And our mentor Isabella advised us strongly against that. But because we both wanted to have a certain amount of creative input, and that was what we got for. And so essentially we took turns kind of being in charge in a way. And then it was good because we were able to bounce ideas off each other instead of just having to make, yeah, exactly.
And on the end here we have Alexandra Noble, who produced the second film, the documentary called Taken, or the docu-journal. And I wanted to ask about that title, the docu-journal, and whether you could elaborate on what that means to you as a storyteller, as a documentary maker.
It wasn't really anything planned, but I guess as it was going along, I realized that the project that I had like hours and hours, hundreds of hours of film that I had to condense. So actually, what is in the screening is a very small section of the film that I had taken. So I realized that to make sense, I had to put some narrative and journaling, which wasn't my original intention. So I kind of, docu-journal.
Did that come out of sort of a lack of, were you sort of missing parts that you wanted to fill in by creating fictional content that you
Sorry, can I repeat the question?
Yeah, I mean, can you just elaborate on this sort of, why you felt the need to bring in diaristic or fictional parts of the story? I just sort of, you mentioned it, but I wanted to elaborate.
Yeah, I think it was because originally the editing process was so long, and what I had was a lot longer than what was the format for the screening. And this is my first attempt at doing anything, filming in general, in terms of video. So it was so easy to get lost in all of that footage. And so I had to find a way to kind of weave together the different parts that I included so that it made sense without it going over the time. So.
And I wonder if you screened it in the Philippines or if you have plans to take it there in the future?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, everybody was interested in seeing what it would look like. Yeah.
Maybe we'll open it up to the floor. But before we do that, I want to acknowledge Sue, who is sitting here in the front row.
Radamis is in Poland, the director, and we were quite disappointed that he couldn't be here. He said, I'm going to send a strong contingent to you in support of this film. And I'm thinking the first row is the strong contingent. Thank you so much for coming.
And are there questions from the floor for our filmmakers here?
Have people from Maria seen your film?
No, they haven't yet, but they will. Everybody was interested in seeing it. But I think I mentioned in the synopsis of it, this is just a sort of a snippet of what I'm going to continue editing all of the footage that I've taken. So I hope to do that as well in the future and make something a little bit longer. But they'll definitely see this for sure.
Will the additions, like the extension of your film, have people telling more stories about Maria and Nico?
Absolutely, yeah. I probably interviewed at least 15 people and took so much footage. was so overwhelming. I kind of didn't know what I was getting myself into. In terms of, everybody says, you know, the editing process is going to take a lot of time, you know, give yourself at least twice as much, and I just had no idea what I was in for, and so that was the longest part, so I'm sure that'll take a long time to go through all of that footage.
As I'm sure this was your first attempt, editing is quite a skill,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so as you get more comfortable in the editing process, I'm sure it will go faster for you. So good luck.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, thanks.
What made you, what influenced you to do a story like that all have done? What was the influence to want to do a story that you've done?
The seed of this, the seed of this actually started over 20 years ago. I'd actually visited the island, as I think I mentioned, to film my mom's from that island. So I was there a long time ago, and that's when I first came across the stories. And I realized when I first heard them that I almost felt like I had sort of crossed a electric fence of belief, where it was hard for me to kind of grasp that people have serious conversations about, supernatural beings. It's just not part of my vernacular growing up.
I've heard of it as well, the same kind of story, so I was just wondering why there's such a belief there.
Exactly. There's a lot of contradictions as well. I didn't show in the screening in terms of people's beliefs, where they believe what they don't believe, and that sort of thing. So I think for me that was always fascinating to me, just trying to understand that better.
For us, we didn't actually have a story in mind. The story kind of developed out of necessity because we both found it kind of difficult to make a film with no story at all. So initially there was no story. And then it became, well, how are we going to hold people's interest for 10 whole minutes with no story? So I think we ended up with this little storyline, but that wasn't really the goal was more an experiment in matching images and sounds. And then the stories are so...
I wanted something that,
You really blended well.
but as a creative side, I wanted something that had to do with elements like outside. I really wanted to film outside. And I also wanted to just have a lot of different views and a lot of aerial shots and stuff like that. So for a technical side of things, I wanted to push my knowledge as well. So.
It was well blended, the sound effects and everything. I think it was really cool just to see the different dynamics.
So I just have a question to Gillian. If there was no specific storylines or previous synopsis, what the snow means to you? A lot of snow.
Yeah. I'm feeling it so much.
I have to say, it was very physically demanding shooting the snow. These are bad.
They would come back from the shoot and they'd be like this. And then here, have the equipment.
Yeah, there was a lot of swearing going on with frozen hands. But yeah.
She wanted more of like
What is snow? Well, he likes the snow, and I kind of want to. The snow is not my thing. But it was more the idea of like we both cycle a lot, and so it was the idea of we wanted to do something with cycling in winter because it's a great mode of transportation, actually, believe it or not, and to represent that the kind of the peacefulness of cycling in winter. That was really the original brain of thing, and then from there, everything else. Maybe you want to talk more about snow.
She's quite close to what we're thinking about. Essentially, for myself, one of the best things about winter is cycling because it's so peaceful. The cars don't make any noise when it's snowing out. I mean, there's hardly any traffic. I mean, we had more in this because we shot rush hour and stuff, but the secondary roads hardly traveled for cars or less. Everyone drives slow. It's actually peaceful. It can be dangerous, yes, slippery and all that stuff, but I mean, putting that aside, there's a certain element that you don't get, and there's no bikers, or hardly bikers more and more now, but there's percentage So I wanted to a little bit portray the peacefulness of riding in snow, but also like the chaotic side of it, you know, in rush hour, and the fact that, you know, you have less light during the day, and just put the story to that, right? So, and the images can be really nice in winter too, because you have the contrast of white on whatever blacks usually or darks. So it gives, what I find visually, it's really nice.
I have an observation and a question. My observation is for Gillian and Andrew. We actually see one of the shots is during the snowstorm. I think it was February, and it was among that. It was among that snowstorm, and literally like barely. I think most people closed early and went home, and there was the staff, a few staff straggled into saw video. No members came except Andrew on his bicycle to pick up the camera. And I thought, this guy is crazy.
Yes.
But the comment I had, maybe it's not a question, maybe it's more of a comment, was for Alex. And I think what struck me about your documentary is that there's a lot of oral history documentaries that reflect upon the past and about mining the past and supernatural stories and beings and tales from cultures for which there's a lot of nostalgia and all of that. And yours is remarkably, it's so present that really struck me, that it's about the living, that so it's really sort of defying our belief systems in many ways, because that stuff was supposed to be back then and not now, because we're all rational human beings, you know. So I found that, at least we're supposed to be, we're not, we don't. But anyway, but I found that very interesting, that I don't think I've seen a piece about oral history that engages with the present so fully.
I think that's kind of what got me, was that, I mean, the stories have a lot of parallels to other culture, like, you know, Celts and everything. Like my father's side is Scottish, and all those similar stories about spirits and trees and all that sort of stuff. But it's the fact that people still believe, like it's not, they're not joking. Like that's what sort of started it, was that I would make a joke and be lighthearted, and the room would be silent, and everybody would be looking at me like, this is common knowledge, like, I'm questioning that. So, yeah, I think that's.
I was asking a question about dementia, but you were trying to give them up, so they weren't taking me.
And the whole filming was involved all of that, where I was questioning, and there's other parts where I question, and it's again, it's that sort of electric defensive belief.
I enjoyed it so much because it reminded me of my favorite event of the year that takes here in a couple of weeks, which is the First Nations Film Festival. And the connections are so strong, clear across the world, but and as a former storyteller, just that whole oral tradition and everything together. Yeah, everything, it really touched my soul tonight. Then one about bicycles, I love them. And I go out, 40 years ago, people said, "You're taking pictures of snow and rocks." People would take pictures of snow and rocks. This 40 years later, now I'm using a cheaper camera than that. And taking pictures of snow and rocks. The day of the big storm, my daughter told me, "Dad, don't go out, you'll have another concussion. It's dangerous." And I use a walk counter just to see how much I did. I walked 14 kilometers that day in the storm with my $99 camera, recharging it, and the most beautiful sight that I want to repeat. You know the wonderful statue for the War of 1812? You always see something amazing happen at that statue. You stand around it. And I was there, and of course the batteries had gone, when a woman went flying by in cross-country skis, and I said, Laura, forget the cow, get the cross-country skis." I love Ottawa, because you travel all through time and all through place, and more nature than in the country, and more culture. It's just a great place. But I did almost kill myself making one section of film because I had none of the right equipment, and I was holding a camera in one hand and riding a bike and riding through Mud Lake and threw myself off the bike. And I called it the Blair, which means Mud Lake.
There's a question here.
Yeah, I have a quick question for each of the filmmakers. For Andrew, how much of your film would you say is a comment on modern relationships and the challenges and difficulties of meeting a significant other in today's society? And I say that because when you guys had the moment when you connected, it was on that bridge with the locks. And I think those locks are supposed to represent never-lasting love. And for Alex, I almost wonder if the Maria character in the past is, and this is just to take further thoughts Penny made, if it's a way of the people on the island to hold on to the past, and perhaps for you to look at your youth as you grew up in that town.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I didn't grow up on the island. My mom's from there, so I just visit sporadically. So it's not what I grew up with. And as you can tell, my mom was very opposed to leaving it. But in terms of the past, I don't know if it's even a conscious thing that people just hold on to the past. It's just the way that they live. I think for me, what is interesting is looking to see, because it's oral history right now. Maxley, who I interviewed, she's for the first time actually recording the stories. They don't exist in written form, so it really is an oral telling and passing down. So right now the island is at a sort of cusp of a lot of changes right now. So like in the past year, there's been a 200% increase in tourism. So it's finally, a lot of people didn't know about the island before, and it has a history of being a witch doctor island. So even in the history within the Philippines, a lot of people didn't want to go to that island because it's just shrouded in mystery. But now tourism is coming in. So I guess a lot of the questions that I kind of ask, or was thinking about, it's too soon to tell what the changes will be, if there will be changes. And some of the interviews I did, they're actually sort of packaging the stories as part of the tourism story to sell to tourists. So I don't know what it's going to be like. I just know that, like as I mentioned in there, for me, I didn't grow up there, but I found that as it was filmed, I was kind of grieving the island because it's not the same as when I visited when I was younger. Because there's just so much change, rapid changing happening with development that's happening on the island, tourism. So many changes. I mean, there weren't any cars when I used to go there. Now almost everybody's got a car. So it's just stuff like that. And I found myself near the end, I was kind of grieving it. So I don't know what the future will hold.
I thought it was interesting where you put like the guy walking around with a hat in the night, and if somebody's walking around with a hat in the night, if you're not allowed to leave, probably just looking wouldn't be that different. Like he's out there, and maybe there's stories that he'll do with things that happen, but again, in Philippines, the stories happen about the hat, and they really had to, honestly, you know, a lot of like, okay, the guy with the hat, see him there, but stories will happen with the guy in the hat.
Yeah, that's it. It kind of makes me wonder if tourism can coexist with magic, right? Because it seems like an automatic killer, you know? Unless you go to Disneyland or something. I don't know. Yeah. I'll answer your question because you asked it. There's no relationship whatsoever. The little love story was really just an excuse to keep your attention. And that's all.
One last question.
What's happened with the cat?
Yeah.
You know how you introduce a cat as a mysterious element and he never come back.
Yeah.
And he was great. I was like very disappointed. Like, come on. He was so strong. He was a strong character. I was so sad.
throughout Canadian cultural history, the cat keeps coming back, so it's
Yeah.
nice to see it stay away from it.
song about that.
Transported the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a one.
Yeah, I would have to cut the snow coming back, you know?
We'll look forward to the sequel.
We were looking to put, well, no, but we were looking to put elements of, creature elements, animalistic elements to it, but it ended up would have cost us too much.
Yeah.
So it was beyond budget. But, yeah, next time around.
Yeah, next time. The cat story next time.
Well, congratulations. If you have more questions for them, I'm sure they're happy to answer them. So, thanks everyone for coming.
Hello, Prinja.